Yes, sir. Me. Well, if you don't know what fair is, you can't make it. Unacceptable by any reason.
Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9PBS.
Thank you very much for joining us for this edition of Donnybrook. Again, we've got lots to talk about, including some rather shocking, I think, breaking news, which we'll lead off with in just a moment. How about that for a tease? But first, let's meet our panelists, starting with the media veteran herself, Wendy Wiese. Bill McClellan, one of our founders from the Post-Dispatch. We'll be talking about the Post. And there she is from the 314 podcast, St. Louis Magazine, Sarah Fenske. And from the St. Louis American, Mr. Alvin Reid. Well, Sarah, this is the breaking news, and that is the sheriff of the city of St. Louis is now on house arrest. Apparently, Alfred Montgomery is facing federal charges for witness tampering. And as opposed to saying, hey, we'll see you in court, they said, hey, you're going to go home, you're going to wear an ankle bracelet, you can't leave the house except for medical appointments and visits to see your attorney. I don't know if his past behavior warrants house arrest. What do you think?
Boy, I kind of think it does. Now, I have defended Alfred Montgomery on this show. I have said that I think the past charges against him were not that big a deal. You know, it was a misdemeanor that he was facing in federal court. These new charges that just dropped this afternoon, this is 5 felonies. And the idea of witness tampering, that's a big deal. You can't have somebody who's out waiting for their charges to be heard in court for them to go around messing around with this case. So not only do I think he deserves house arrest at this point, because we have to assume there's some element of truth to these charges, the judge is going to have a bond hearing on Tuesday. I think it's possible the judge is going to order him to go straight to jail. I'm going to have a hard time arguing with that.
Well, nothing is done has warranted him going to jail right now.
Witness tampering, Alvin?
Well, I mean, until proven, yes, until this is proven, I don't think the man should be house arrest or under arrest.
You just think he can run around just talking to witnesses in the case, many of whom work for him, and potentially, screwing this all up?
I just think this is just some more power play shenanigans and authoritarianism. Mispronounced, but anyway.
You mean on the part of Catherine?
I'm switching.
It's just all involved.
These are federal charges.
I'm switching positions too, Sarah. I argued against you when I was against Montgomery and you were for him, and now I'm not so sure. The U.S. Attorney's Office, it doesn't have the same feel that it used to have. I mean, with Tom Albus in charge, it's run more like night court in one of the munis, where you can plead guilty but with an excuse, And who's your lawyer? Oh, is that Pam's brother? Step right over there. So I a year ago, a couple months ago, I would have said, hey, if the feds say this, I take it. But these days, I'm not so sure.
I guess I'm stunned that people are stunned that the sheriff who had somebody roll dice for his job would consider witness tampering. I mean, that's stunning in itself. I do think house arrest, you immediately think of somebody like Pol Pot or, somebody really, really awful. But this guy is kind of slippery, and I could see where house arrest.
Why do we bring up Pol Pot and Alfred Montgomery?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying house arrest is kind of dramatic.
No, house arrest is a pretty nice thing. It's better than jail.
Yeah. Well, but
it's much better.
But
Sarah, you said that the charges seem to have an element of truth. What do you know about that?
Well, I guess unlike Bill, I still assume that if the U.S. Attorney's Office is saying, hey, we're charging somebody with this, that there's some underlying fact pattern that would lead us to believe that.
Throughout this Justice Department?
Right.
So we've completely lost faith in the entire U.S. Attorney's Office.
Well, have you completely lost faith? Have you lost faith in people being innocent till proven guilty?
No, I'm all for innocent till proven guilty, which is why I do tend to prefer house arrest to making people stay in jail with no bail. I think no bail is bad. I'm just so stunned. You guys are now, I'm the law and order guy on this.
If Alfred Montgomery resigned tonight, all the charges would be go away tomorrow. They're just trying to strong arm him out of the office.
I don't know.
I guarantee you.
But
This is interesting.
Alvin, strong arm, Indian, whatever it was called. What is that called?
Arm wrestling.
Arm wrestling. Thank you. Anyway, we need to get him out of that office.
No, we need to vote him out of office. Incompetency is not a crime. I mean, I'm sorry.
But when
Story of
as
my
I believe
career,
we
I
asked,
guess.
I
Yeah.
think we asked this question weeks ago. The last time we were talking about Sheriff Montgomery, when does incompetency
Yeah.
become a crime?
But
Because
incompetence is one thing, but Alvin, you got to admit, if he's refusing to take ill prisoners to the hospital, he should be removed.
Well, yeah, he ought to be gone. I wish he were.
But all this is
exactly.
this is beyond what need be done.
you think
right,
this
Alvin.
is all Trump?
This is
Okay.
all, yeah.
Alvin, I
or
wanna
people
move-
trying to
Okay.
appease Trump, whether he
Right.
asks to do it or not.
Well, I think I know how you're going to react to the next question because the president sent 500 troops from the National Guard to Chicago. I think 200 are from Texas and 300 from the state of Illinois. And J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois, of course, has, I think, been making political hay of it. He's front and center, and he's showing all the Democrats that he is the #1 opponent of Donald Trump and his policies. He said that the president is senile, and in response, the president said, oh, he should be in jail, referring to J.B. Pritzker. But from what I'm reading, these guards, these troops, National Guard troops in Washington, D.C., are actually picking up litter. They're doing some landscaping to beautify the nation's capital. They're helping Little League kids play baseball. If that's the case, would you consider inviting the National Guard to St. Louis?
No, now wait a minute. There's a big difference in inviting somebody to your house and President Trump kicking in the door and sending them whether you want them or not. I don't want them here. I do not want any armed military unit at the behest of the president just to come to my city and then a bunch of lies and platitudes about crimes out of control and all that kind of stuff. No, this showboating, somebody's got to stand up to it. I'm glad the governor of Illinois is standing up to it. This is, once again, this is just unheard of in this country, and I don't care if they're painting the White House or picking up litter or doing anything. Absolutely no to this, because what's next, Charlie?
And what's going to happen to the
yeah.
Little League teams when the Guard leaves? If the Guard is here to coach Little League teams?
I guess it depends on how strong their offense is. I don't know. But the only, you're making them sound like Molly maids, like a crew from Molly maids, and they're putting change under the pillows of children and taking their teeth like they're acting for the tooth fairy.
The funny thing is, funny and strange, the mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, who was originally against them,
is all for it.
She has really softened her stand against it. In the case, at least, of Washington, D.C., the troops were good people. They're not bad people. They're helping the civic atmosphere.
I don't have a problem with it. I'm with you. I just think that you're making them sound like.
They shouldn't be. It may not be the best use of the national military resources.
Why not, though?
But
this whole thing is so absurd, and I'm glad that these nice young people who are out there are behaving respectably in Washington, D.C. That's great news, but it feels like with what's happening in Illinois, this is this terrible federal encroachment. Like, whatever happened to the idea of states being able to govern themselves? Like, we're all now under this giant federal thumb. I'm with Alvin.
And it really is
disturbing.
very third worldish.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea of armed troops walking around our cities.
Yeah.
And they don't have arrest powers. So exactly, besides coaching Little League, which I hadn't heard before,
Hey,
I don't know what they're supposed to
cleaning
do.
the bathrooms.
You go to some European capitals, and they're not third world, Bill. I mean, Frankfurt
Well, that's
and
true.
Paris,
I haven't been to Europe, Charlie.
They've got people who are carrying some
well,
heavy
And that
And
way,
what about
it's
there?
been like that since the first time I went to Europe back in the 70s. Yes, that part of their police, part of their military, guards airports, guards towns, they've been on the watch out for terrorists, not fellow Americans, not fellow countrymen.
Well, sometimes terrorists can be
Well, I
fellow
understand that, but
Americans.
these people are not here to guard us from terrorism.
Well, you guys are acting as if Chicago hasn't had 331 homicides.
Okay,
this
so
year,
what?
which it has.
So then let's just have a military state. All right, nobody will ever get murdered anymore.
We
I-
were
you know
all-
what? To some extent, I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Charlie.
Well,
I would, as opposed. I mean,
Okay.
how many
If the
people?
police don't
if
have
people
the
in Graves
manpower-
could speak, they would agree with
Yeah,
me.
if
You
police
think
don't
this
have
is
the
going to
manpower,
solve murders, stop murders?
Show of
That's-
force.
might hurt.
I don't
Well,
think
the
that is.
National Guard, I don't even think in D.C. they're out in the neighborhoods. Are they patrolling neighborhoods?
No, they're doing a lot of landscaping now.
That's what we hear.
All right.
Landscaping and coaching.
Phil, I want to ask you about your newspaper. Are you going to give me a discount now that you're not going to be delivering the print edition to my home anymore on Mondays?
Yep.
How about those celebrity birthdays on page 2? Will they still be printed or available?
Yeah, well, Charlie, I know what you're talking about is we're stopping the Monday print edition. And, you know, to me, it's a sad thing, but around the country, this is going on. You know, and some people who know more than I do say that the day is coming when everybody will get their newspaper on a device. You know, that you won't walk out on the lawn and pick up the paper like I do and like a lot of people like me like to do, that you'll just have a device, an iPad or something, and you'll scroll through the paper just the way my wife reads books on what are those things called?
Kindles.
Kindles. Right. I mean, I think that everything is headed that way. And I hope this doesn't mean the death of journalism. I hope it's just could be the same journalism in a different
It's
format.
a period of transition, whether it's electronic, whether it's print. I don't think there's any doubt about it. We've all noticed it. I think really almost the story makes more of a thing out of it than it deserves to be. You know, we're cutting it is sad because it means that we're getting closer and closer to the caboose on this in terms of that print, you know, that wonderful print that you get on your fingers.
Yeah,
But
I think when you eliminate, like I say, the newspaper getting thrown, I think there'll always be a kind of a
Tactile.
paper, but you'll just have to go. You'll have to buy it. You'll have to maybe not go out of your way, but I think it'll be available.
I
to
don't know.
just buy.
They're not printing a Monday edition. It's not that they're
No.
digital delivery.
I'm saying even after this, I'm just saying that I think there would always be, papers will always make some type of print edition available for you to buy.
I
I'm not
just-
talking.
I don't know.
I don't know
when
about
I
that,
go out of town, and I always want to look at the newspaper in another town, and it used to be the hotel would always have one.
Yeah.
It might be USA Today, but they'd have something.
Yeah.
But now I go in there, I often can't find anything, and if I say to the young clerk, I'm looking to get a paper, they look at me like, what?
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, maybe you could try a convenience store, sir.
Yeah.
You know,
I was in New York City. They no longer have the newspaper in the newsstands. It used to be my favorite thing to walk up and buy all the newspapers. Now they only have them tucked away in a dark corner of a grocery
in
store.
coffee houses,
Yeah.
always used to buy a
Yeah.
paper.
Now they
no?
don't. I think it's over. And honestly, I think the best move the Post-Dispatch could make here, and it pains me to say this because you guys have great reporters doing wonderful work, and I love a print newspaper as a reader. But I think they should just kill the whole print edition right now. Right now, their circulation is so low on that print paper. It's smaller than the RFTs was even like 10 years ago. It's minuscule.
27,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Used
ridiculous.
to be 291.
At this point, it's just a vanity product for a couple of suburban readers.
Well,
and
the good news, I mean, you're right. I mean, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Cleveland, Detroit, they've all cut back. But the good news might be in like the St. Louis Daily, Sarah's newsletter, which comes out every morning at 6:05, and I know people are lining up for it. And it takes and then the Business Journal comes out at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And you can kind of plan accordingly. And it's doing gangbusters, right?
Yep.
It's you don't have a print edition.
I think people are, they're happy to get something in their inbox. They're starting to understand this whole idea of having somebody go to the warehouse in their car and pick up these newspapers and fling them around town. It is an inefficient system. It's kind of like when they used to drop off the glass milk bottle. And I love that way of life, and I hate that it's gone.
Me,
but
me
it's
too.
gone.
I'm a 20th
Yeah.
century person, and this new century is difficult.
But even you graduated from your flip phone up to an iPhone.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
I did. Yes,
Yeah,
I
you
did.
did.
Yes, I did.
I'm glad it's unseasonably warm because that iceberg my family's going to put me on is just sailing right here. I give up. I tried to defend the print. You're right. It's dead. It's just Alvin. Everything you gave your life to, just
No,
dead.
I think you're right, though, Alvin. I think in some form or another, it will always be available, just like AM radio.
Yeah,
Same
somehow,
thing.
some way.
Same thing.
Wendy, let me ask you about short-term rentals like VRBO, Airbnb, and the city of St. Louis. Where do I begin? A couple of weeks ago, the Post-Dispatch had a story that there's supposed to be a 3% tax on these rentals, and so far, the city hasn't collected it, even though it could, but nobody told the Board of Aldermen that the license collector is supposed to collect it and it wasn't put on the ballot or something like that. This is a tax increase in November of 2024. Passed by the voters, 68%, still don't have that. And now, Sarah takes a look at other aspects of the short-term rental legislation. It was supposed to regulate short-term rentals and also assess a $150 fee on the owners of these. The regulations haven't gone into effect yet, even though the action was taken long ago by the board. What's going on here?
Well, it's funny because we were talking about how we get our news in the morning. First thing I do in the morning is wake up and read Sarah's newsletter, and I was quite stunned to see that this judge's order ended up, what was supposed to be sort of like a temporary block. And a year ago, she points out in the article that we were the last major city that did not have any regulations for these short-term rentals. So yes, the judge issues a temporary order, but then, in June, and then now, these months later, nothing is happening. And nobody really knows why. I mean, it seems like a clerical error.
It's the tornado.
Right.
Well,
obviously.
Yeah, so the judge initially blocked the whole thing. And at that point, the city's like, well, our hands are tied. This thing is blocked. But then, in
Was
June.
it supposed to be temporary, though?
It was, but people thought, okay, well, this is just dragging out. Well, in June, he modified this order in a pretty big way. They could go ahead with these regulations as long as they don't charge the fee. It was interesting yesterday asking around City Hall. I think a ton of people were not aware of this order. And it's not clear exactly what happened. It was in the wake of the tornado. My current theory, though, is that the city is not that enthused about this legislation. I think Mayor Kara Spencer, not a huge fan of some of these regulations, and I think she wants them modified before the city has any plans to enforce them, which to neighbors is news. They're not happy about it.
Oh, they've been very patient.
I wouldn't want to have a short-term rental next to me. I have a sister-in-law in Tucson who lives right next to it, and there's different people coming in. Of course, that's the idea of it, and they're up late, and there's parties, and it's just not something that's healthy for a neighborhood to me.
I would tend to agree, and I remember we talked about all of this on the show and how all these things I think we were pretty uniform in that we agreed with all of it, and then you read that none of it has happened.
No.
And I say, like I'd said earlier, like, man, this tornado is it's the tornado. Yeah, all right,
Yeah.
okay. We're running out of tornado excuses.
It's like
here.
COVID. Well, tornado is kind of like COVID. Our excuse for everything.
2 years ago, the city forgot to tax marijuana, and so it lost 3 months of revenue.
Right.
Now, I think happens is, the taxes are like in the license collector's office or the treasurer's office, and they're all separated by county divisions from the mayor's office. No one's talking to anybody. And frankly, I was in City Hall not too long ago on a weekday in the afternoon. I didn't see anybody in the whole place. I think people must have been working remotely, or I don't know where people were. But
I have heard, I have never had to get a business license or whatever, and I've heard it was a nightmare, but I was actually in there not getting one for myself, but I had to and you were right, there was nobody in any of these offices, and I said well, if I showed up right now to take care of some business, I would be out of here in 10 minutes because there's nobody here.
That's what I saw too.
Right.
Yeah.
But that
has not been my experience.
Right.
Maybe you guys hit it on a bad day. There's a fair number of people around there. I just don't know if they have the will right now. They say that the aldermen now say they're going to come back and they're going to tweak some of these regulations and they're moving forward.
Well, they should also, because this is one of those, it's one thing to hey, I haven't taken my check down to the bank and you have a lot of money in the bank. It's another thing. So we're scrambling for money, but yet here's a tax that we could be reaping and we're not, solely because nobody knows and all that. That's inexcusable. Even if it's a few $1,000s, that's a pothole, you know.
Alvin, let me ask you about the Rams settlement. You know, it was 2021 that money was distributed as a result of litigation between the city, the county, the Regional Sports Authority, and the NFL and Stan Kroenke after they moved the Rams out. So the county got $169 million, and we all thought, hey, gosh, let's dream about what the possibilities could be as we transform and aspire to great things. And Sam Page, the county executive, last week said, maybe we'll take $59 million and just pay the bills in Parks and Recreation and the health department and build some sidewalks. Just pay the bills.
The dream is over. I've been beaten down. I've been like, I am so tired. Spend the money, Sam. Spend the money. I don't care what you spend it on. Dog pound, fixing the roads, paying the bill. Just spend the money. That's all I ask. Just spend the money on good things, but just spend the money. I want it to be transformational. I wanted to do all these marvelous, wonderful, gigantic things. It's over. It's over.
No. And Sarah and I are in complete 1,000% agreement on this. If you tell a woman that something is going to be transformative, we are expecting head to toe goosebumps. Okay. Now you're telling us that you're essentially buying new screens for the windows in the back of the house.
And
You're fixing the sewer lines.
fixing the
Nothing you
sewer
can't
lines.
even see.
It's like, no,
You're not getting
no.
a new deck after all.
No, we're not settling for
Spending,
this.
cut spending. Do something truly transformative with this money. This is not the cookie jar on top of the refrigerator.
To me, it is. And you got bills. Oh, honey, we could pay off the house with the money I found in the backyard when I was digging for flowers. Or we could go to Aruba for 2 months.
Right.
Pay the bills.
Do you
I like
forget-
Alvin's idea. The money's burning a hole in his
It's
pocket.
my pocket.
You need to spend that.
And I'm not going to tell the city how to spend their money. But as a county resident, Sam, just spend the money.
I just think this is so sad. Again, I'm in complete agreement with Wendy here, but it's like, why can't they just balance this budget? They've got this giant budget, but they're like, oh, well, just another $59 million here.
And then what about next year?
Well, no, we're going to
Like,
balance the budget, then we're going to act right.
This is not sustainable.
And we're going to be better.
We're going to be
Oh,
better.
yeah. That always.
more debt.
That
we're
old
going to go to
chestnut.
Italy right
Yeah,
now,
we're
but
really
then
gonna
we come
learn
back.
from these mistakes.
It just seems so sad that like we had these dreams of like having a better St. Louis, and now it comes to it's just
No, it's like, no, if the water pump is broke on the car, that's one thing. But if the engine is broken down, you got to get a new car. Look, how about we just fix it? How about we just take this money, pay these bills, maybe fix some roads?
Because you're letting
we'll give
people
you a
like
bike
Sam
pass
Page
or
and the county
something.
council completely off the hook.
No,
let them cut
I don't
costs.
care. Listen, you're right. I'm letting them off the hook. They can get off the hook, just pay the bills. They're like, we are no longer
right,
in
all
And then
right.
we wonder why
Hey.
lawmakers spend like a bunch of drunken sailors. I mean, why does
one-
that happen?
It's a settlement.
All righty. Final topic for this illustrious program. Sarah, the mayor has announced, along with others at Lambert Field, that when they start looking for minority and women-owned firms who can take part in the programs that set aside a certain number of positions or contracts for minorities and women, that these groups will have to first demonstrate that they've been discriminated against before they can apply for this money. I think the reason is because the Justice Department has ruled that because of the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution, they don't believe that anyone should be favored for a contract based on race or skin color unless there's been discrimination in the past. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is kind of threading the needle the way the Supreme Court has telegraphed. If you want to do some of these programs that favor certain people, here's the way you have to do it. So what I think is going to be the net result of this is any company that wants to get these types of airport contracts, they're just going to have to hire a consultant who's going to tell them, okay, here's the argument that you give that prove that you're part of this group that got discriminated against in this specific way. And some consultant's just going to make a lot of money helping these people get the contract that they got a couple of years ago.
I would just be honest with these contractors and whatnot and say, like, you're going to have to hold on for another 3 years because this nonsense is not going away and, it's all we could do. Or just steam forward with the program and say, like, by the time all the lawsuits get filed and by the time all this actually make its way to a courtroom, there'll probably be a new president. And so I just...
But it's the Supreme Court which can rule also.
But I'm just saying, like,
And I
I'm
don't
not
think
going
that's
to...
changing.
That's fine. But these little programs like this, ain't nobody going to go to jail over that. This would continue as it has under other Republican administrations. This stuff is bad for business, but everybody's afraid of the president, and nobody wants to say that out loud. Some of the most conservative business
Now,
people
why
in the
is
world.
it bad for business?
Because GM, all these other places say DEI is a good thing. The more people we can come through here, the more opportunities we can give, that helps us. That
Well, you don't-
creates dollars.
California
and I-
hasn't had it since 1996.
I don't know how, Charlie, you can expect people to prove that they were discriminated against when they
Yeah.
can't get a contract. I mean,
Right.
That's
no,
But
it just-
if you can't prove it, then how do you know that you have
okay,
been
if
discriminated
no
against?
black people got contracts at the airport for 25 years, okay.
Yeah,
Do you
okay.
think there was some form of
If that was
discrimination?
the case,
And I think they
But that
did not
was
point
the
to
case.
that.
That's how
Yes,
we.
but it's
That's-
not anymore. It hasn't been for the past 30
It
years.
will be now.
That's what the
It could
consultant
be.
is going to say.
I won't say it
The
will be. I
consultant
say
is
it
gonna
could
say,
be.
Yeah.
Right.
They're going to say, let's look at this period in St. Louis and how many people were discriminated against. Here's the background. Here's where we get the contract.
And on that note, we're going to go to the old mailbag and see what people had to say about last week's show. While I agree with the panel that a high-profile shooting in a college town is jarring and should prompt action, Chancellor Moon Choi's categorization of crime in Columbia was highly exaggerated. Thank you, Matt Carroll of St. Louis and MIZ. Candy and sodas can be used as part of well-rounded meals or as desserts. Look at your own diets and tell me that you do not use candies and sodas ever. That from Charles A. Johnston. And Kim Brown of St. Louis wrote, Charlie said Trump didn't try to dismantle FEMA during his first administration, so why now? The answer is Project 2025. The plan to shift responsibility to the states and local governments is all in Chapter 5 of Project 2025. Thank you, Kim. You can write us care of 9PBS 63108. Don't forget to email Donnybrook at 9pbs.org. Social media, hashtag DonnybrookSTL. Call the 9 line 314-512-9094 and listen to us on your favorite podcast source. Don't forget our YouTube program. We call it Last Call on the 9PBS channel. This week we'll be talking about litter on Gravois. And what about that Roosevelt High School football team? Shouldn't something have been done differently? We'll get into that around the corner. Oh, yeah, also John O'Leary's movie. We'll talk about whether it's a civic duty to go see Soul on Fire this weekend. Lots to talk about on our YouTube channel. That's it for this program. See you next week at this time.
Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9PBS.